Hey everybody, it's Tuesday.
And welcome to this week's edition of Hook, Line, and Striker.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And we are actually just stepping off the ice to be here with you tonight. Yeah, Josh was like literally eating dinner as we were coming in here tonight. So if you have been out, let us know how your ice conditions are. Let us know how your fishing conditions are. And let me tell you, these last 2 days have been fabulous. So I expect there are probably people with reports. So I guess starting with the weekend, how has it been going for us?
Weekend's been going pretty good. Besides the slow fishing, travel on the ice has been good. Ice conditions have been good. Just, fish have been kind of finicky for us. We were up in northern Wisconsin a little bit and kind of struck out there. And then we went over to the Fox River in De Pere, and just like everybody else on the river on Sunday, it
was not fast and furious.
No, we actually did. We caught a couple perch, and that was better than some people caught because they caught nothing. So, we made a little bit of a redemption today. The thermometer hit 40 degrees. So we're like, well, we got to get out for a couple hours at least. So got out. We found a couple crappies, and now we're here with you.
So I guess a few other things that I was thinking about, when we were out in Green Bay, we've been hearing a lot of really mixed reports. Voyager Park is a very popular spot. If you haven't been there yet, then I imagine someday you will, because it is just kind of a destination. And as far as a fishing area from parking, it is fairly easy to get to. So again, pretty popular there. But you know what we were able to do is the current has not been too crazy strong. So took the AquaView and dropped that down the hole. And let me tell you what, there are all kinds of people that go out there walleye fishing. And although I did actually see walleye on the camera, we did see white bass go through. I do think I saw a goby go through. And actually the other thing that I saw go through is gar.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an unusual thing to kind of see on the ice, or at least it is for me. But I think a lot of times people are out there jigging at fish that aren't even walleye. So that was kind of a fun thing to discover.
Yeah. Well, we got a kind of a strange request here from Matt. So how about, can you pronounce Striker again?
Striker gear.
So I don't know. Maybe we said it weird. I don't know. Yeah. Hi, everybody that's checking in. Good to hear from you. Good to see you here.
With that warm up in the beginning of the week, though, that did change what was kind of a tough bite for us into. Well, we had a fairly productive evening tonight, but I do know that a cold front is coming in after that, and that can change things as well. So, I'd love to give you this fabulous report, but unless you are still getting out there tonight, I don't know how well that will translate to you.
Yeah.
So, awesome. If anybody has different questions or comments or things along the way, if you have a fishing report yourself, check in with your location. Tell us how that fishing is going, because those are all things that we'd love to hear from you guys. But otherwise, let's get to the guest of our show and talk more ice fishing. So welcome to the show, Amy and Troy.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so it looks like there are a few different people here who might recognize you already. But if there's anybody here joining us that doesn't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Amy. I guess I didn't really grow up fishing necessarily. I fished with my dad occasionally on, in the summer on the river, something like that. Kind of grew up outdoors, but not in a hunting or fishing family. And so when I met Troy, I think we've been together like 11 years now, I think, something like that.
13, 12.
We don't know.
Something like that.
We're married too. We just don't know. But he was always into fishing and grew up fishing and everything. And so we just kind of melted together. It was a lifestyle I wanted, and it's a lifestyle he lived. And now we just pretty much do everything together and travel. We do a lot of catfishing tournaments is what we started out years ago. We still do them here and there. They're just a lot more expensive nowadays. And then
Yeah.
with full-time jobs and everything, it's very hard to balance. But we still just love traveling all over the country and fishing for everything, actually. So I don't
And
know.
so
It's kind
then,
of
like, generally, where are you guys at now?
like for ice fishing or
Yeah, like generally, like, where do you live?
sorry, we live in Iowa. Just we're out in the country, live on a farm, but we're very close to the University of Iowa in Iowa City.
About 15, 20 minutes
Yeah.
just straight west of Iowa City.
So you guys still get a pretty good ice season down there, but shorter than some places.
It is a lot shorter, or sparse, I should say too. There's been a couple times where we barely had safe ice. Northern Iowa still does okay, but we're actually doing pretty good this year. We just went about an hour south of us last weekend, and there was probably 12 inches of ice on there. So that was awesome.
Yeah, there was enough to drive the side by side. We weren't for sure. You can only go with so much on ice reports, and we were going to do some ice camping, and it got to the point where I'm not dragging all our stuff across the lake. And we're just check the ice when we get there, and there was plenty. So we got good ice right now.
Yeah.
So my next question was going to be how was the fishing, but I'm almost so distracted by the fact that you said ice camping because that's something that we have been doing as well. So I know that I want to ask about that, but I will go back to that first question of how was the fishing?
Sorry, I was just reading a buddy's comment.
Yeah.
The fishing was, I'd say it was pretty good. Troy dominated. Both we went to one lake and set up. I don't know if we missed the morning bite or just wasn't that great. It was a lot colder than we intended. They said it was going to be about 30, and I think it was like 10. So
And windy.
yeah.
The wind kind of shut us down a little bit from hole hopping, but
So we just kind of shacked up with some buddies and all had our shacks up and just talking around and just trying to fish throughout the day. It was okay. And then the evening bite just hammered them. And then the next morning we packed up like before it was even light out and went and picked up my sister and took her ice fishing because that's something she's starting to get into. And we hammered them again as well, and also landed a nice 7-pound channel cat. So that was pretty cool too.
Oh my gosh.
it was pretty interesting. The drag got spun loose and pretty much just bird nested the reel. And so Amy and her sister Haley had to like hand line it in.
I got to hand line it out.
I'm over there having the background. Our buddy Brad Keitel, he's over there videoing it through the window, and Amy's hand lining, and Haley's getting ready to grab the fish. And I'm over in the background trying to get this big knot bird nest out of the reel, and they got the fish on the ice, and it was a good one.
Technically, it was her catch, but I had more fun just because I got to hand line it in, and it was just 2-pound test, and I'm just just noodling it up with my fingertips, but yeah, it was fun.
Oh my gosh. And so are you then also doing catfish through the ice?
Yes, we've ice catted for a couple years now.
About, I don't know, 5. I mean, before ice catting was cool, we just catfish during, open water, and let's try to catch them through the ice. And then, started doing it and did a couple different techniques. And so, yeah, we do a lot of that, but same thing with panfish. I mean, it will kind of, if we go ice catting, we kind of just tend to fish for the catfish, kind of focus more towards that. And then if we're going to do panfish, we, kind of switch tactics and gear for those.
So when you're targeting cats on the ice, is that like a tip-up situation, a jigging situation? I just love catfish, and I've never done this, so I'm like totally interested.
So, like that jaw jackers,
Automatic fisherman.
automatic fisherman.
Yeah.
Troy actually made some homemade versions for ourselves, and so that's what we used for the beginning when we very first started. And he did it where there's like door alarms on it, so when they go up, and we can have 3 lines here in Iowa and then in Wisconsin too. So if we get a group together, there could be like 15 rods out there.
We've had close to, I think like 28 rigs, and it's pretty much, it's So when we do it that way, it's kind of like a big party.
Mhm.
Everybody puts their jaw jackers out, and we all just stand around pretty much until I guess you want to call it a flag goes up, or
Yeah, but ours do the alarms, and so then you just have to look and see where it's at, and the first person to get there, like I'll do a run and slide and grab it. It's fun, but I would say a year or two ago, maybe a year ago, and this year we started jigging for them too, which has been kind of fun.
yeah. So we'll set our our two jaw jackers each out, and then kind of whole hop, try to find the active fish on the bottom, and just a little different way. Sometimes then we just do that in the morning, and then when it gets slower, then we'll just put the the jaw jackers out.
And then in summer, when you hear catfishing, everyone kind of thinks like stink bait, gross stuff, all of that,
Chicken
big
livers.
olive, nasty, whatever. Is that what you're doing on ice, or is it something a little bit? Are you plastics, or what does that look like?
We'll still do like cut bait, or we'll catch shad like in the fall, right before it starts to get where we can't catch them anymore, and then we'll freeze the shad guts. And so we've done that before too.
And like
And then-
the whole shad, pretty much like in our lakes that have shad in it, we've kind of found out that like a small piece of shad gut, either on a treble hook or just a real small J hook, or even like an 1/8 ounce just lead head jig head, drop that down. Shad guts is seems to be pretty much king bait. But every day, I mean, it changes. I mean, sometimes they want, like a fresh piece of little bluegill. Because Iowa, we can use bluegill, crappie, whatever you can catch legally. So we do that. But then even like minnow heads. But we've kind of noticed in ponds, and I guess I've kind of noticed the last couple of years when I started doing that more of the active jigging, just a waxworm. For some reason in ponds, like our pond, we've got some pretty good cats in there, and we'll catch a small bluegill and cut it up fresh. But a lot of times just a little waxworm, and then that's what her sister caught. It was just a little
tiny little tungsten with a waxworm.
Yeah, she's sitting there. She was pounding on the bottom. It's funny because earlier we had 3 holes in the shack, and I'm sitting there watching mine. My back's to them, and I'm like, "Oh, my big fish on the bottom, big fish on the bottom." And we didn't even know it was in this pond. It was just a buddy's pond that he said, "Yeah, go try this one. There's good bluegills and crappies." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll go there." So we didn't even really pack anything for catfish at all. And I kept seeing them big marks on the bottom. I'm like, man, that's probably a catfish. But I'm just thinking that to myself in my head. And then later in the day, she just had that little tungsten with just one waxworm. And I watched her over there. She was sitting there and just thumping bottom, just bouncing bottom. Like sometimes they'll do like bluegills, stir that mud up, I guess, and for perch too. And I don't know, next thing I look over, she's setting the hook, and it just started peeling drag. So just that itty bitty little waxworm is what it took for that one. But mostly for bait though, like if we're going out on a lake and targeting, we'll take shad guts, and then either catch a little bluegill there, or we'll run down to our pond and catch a bluegill, and I usually just cut it up in small pieces and go from there.
It's almost the smaller the better.
Oh
during winter, it's weird.
Yeah, the whole big bait, big fish in winter kind of seems to be the complete opposite. And
I think my was my biggest 21.
it is about
In the out of the ice, 21 pound out of the ice
channel cat, yeah,
channel cat, and that was just shad guts. I think a couple years
a
ago.
little piece of bluegill.
Oh,
There was bluegill up there. So
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
There's a comment here. Claude is saying, ask Tracy if you've ever eaten a shad. It says LOL, so I imagine I can guess that answer.
We both have.
yeah.
There's times you may drink a little or something.
Back in my,
There's a dare.
I'm not good with dare. Peer pressure and me, I guess you could say don't get along, but maybe we do get along. I've eaten shad, live minnows, crawdad. I've eaten a lot of stuff. I'll put it that way.
That's super brave of you. I'm not that cool.
You're smarter.
Yeah. I said you're smarter. I like to have a good time.
So do you guys find, or have you even looked into the fact that like a lot of times channel catfish and crappie will hang out together, and you'll more so find crappie suspended way up, like almost right under the ice when you're catching catfish. Do you guys find that to be true?
I don't know.
I don't know because I've never really done them both at the same time.
Yeah, usually like we're either fishing for catfish or the panfish.
But I guess the other day on the pond, our buddy's pond, I mean, every once in a while something would be suspended. I mean, it was only like 10 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was jigging and I got a catfish. So on the bottom. So, I mean,
our neighbor's pond.
I'm not sure.
But now that you say that, I mean, and even the other day when our sister caught one, the bluegills were about mid depth. And then I think we did catch one crappie in there too, but mostly a lot of bluegills, but they were about mid depth. And of course, the cat was cruising along bottom. So, I could see that. And then same thing with the shad. If like a big school of shad come through, and one of the lakes, we've done quite a bit of ice cat, and your screen will just light up with shad about mid depth. And then it seems like underneath they're just kind of, just like almost like in the sun, they're waiting for one to either like get stunned or like shad die a lot in the cold weather. And so I think they're just cruising around waiting for, one to flutter down. And which brings up another point. A lot of guys use like spoons, like small spoons, like a flutter spoon, or like a tingler. And of course the buckshot, rattle spoons, a lot of them, but I don't know if that, when they fall, if that has something to do with it. I don't know, but
they're not super aggressive in the winter, but
yeah,
but it's I don't know.
Yeah, it's like jig. You see them come in, and you're like jig, and then you'll like see them kind of come up a little bit, and then you just want to hold it completely still, like as still as you can. A lot of times, I'll just lay it on my knee. I'll lay the ice rod on my knee, and then just wait for it to go down. But when they are aggressive, and actually, I think it was it Tom on Tuesday over in Nebraska.
Yeah,
that was on. He was saying like the same thing. He's like a lot of times, like when they bite, you can feel it. I mean, it's like it's a thump.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty neat. It's a neat bite. I mean, it's just fun. Plus, they just fight so hard.
That sounds like something that would be fun with the walleye snares.
Oh,
yeah.
What's a walleye snare?
Well, so JT Outdoor Products, they make custom rods that are like technique specific, and over the last few years, probably like 10 years now, they've developed a rod that is supposed to be it's a dead stick, and it kind of replaces a bobber in the fact that you just set it out there and it sits on a jig stand, and the way that they have the blank tapered is that it's pretty, there's a lot of action all the way up to like through 3/4 of the rod, and then it really has a stiff backbone that last quarter. And then it has a spring bobber on top just for an indicator. So then you let it sit out, and then the fish take it, and they don't really feel that rod load up. And then you put a bait feeder on it, like you would for catfishing anyway. But like they have a panfish one and they have a walleye one, and you just let the rod load up, and like sometimes the tip is even in the water, and then that bait feeder just goes out, and the fish, by the time they get to that point, they're swimming away.
They're hooked.
So they're hooked. You just run over and you just lift it up and start reeling. And it's really, really fun. That's what we were out catching crappies this evening on our panfish snares.
Oh, that would be fun.
But no, that the catfish sound really fun on those JT walleye snares.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where you're talking rods, it's like there's all kinds of, different ones. I mean, we've from ultralights to, and actually one of our main sponsors, like for catfishing, is Whisker Secret Tackle. And they came out with a few years ago, kind of helped, I guess, design it. I don't know. I'm not taking credit, but they took, pointers from us or whatever. We worked with them and some other people. And they work great for the jaw jackers, and it's nice rod. It's nice rod. It's built for catfishing. But anywhere from like that specific rod to, I think you were using your tuned up custom bullwhip.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And anywhere to the lighter ones. I think I was using like a 13 fishing. It's like the Black Betty. I don't know, power noodle. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's like a bunch of different rods you can use for them. I mean,
The
it's like
St. Croix Mojo ice, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I used that one 2 years ago to jig up a catfish, and that has a pretty good backbone too.
Cool. So pretty diverse. You don't really need a specific thing for the catfish.
yeah,
Or you hand line, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah. So you guys were talking about bait, and we have Matt here. He was saying it seems like a lot of his go-to shad spots have dried up just recently in the last few years. He's asking if you guys have noticed a similar issue locating these shad.
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like it cycles. You always have, that one lake that you're like, or one pond or anything, you're like, oh, I don't even have to worry. I just know I can go there in the morning and get it. And then there's a couple times where we might have gone last minute right before a trip or a tournament, and we're like, oh, we didn't catch any. So now what do we do? So I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of it's, I think, cycle. Now, of course, you got the Asian carp thing, because they're filter feeders, the shad, they kind of compete. But it's the same thing. It's kind of a cycle now. Like down south, the Asians are really bad, but their shad population is starting to come back. We've noticed from traveling down there. But I think it's because now up in our waters, they're just kind of Keokuk. It was about the stop of it in southern Iowa. Well, now they've got up above that and infiltrated the pool's up, and they're starting to get pretty bad. And the Keokuk pool had been really bad for shad for probably close to 10 years, probably 8 years. But this year, and I think even, well, it's been technically, I guess, last year, and even the summer before, the shad population was starting to come back. But there's still as many Asians there. So I think it's just starting to level out. So I could see maybe like on the Mississippi or something. Yeah, it might have something to do with that. But for us, like our lakes and stuff, our lakes are usually they're full of shad all the time. I mean, in the spring, it gets hard because you have that winter kill. Which makes for an awesome spring bite in ice out conditions. It's about probably our favorite time of year to fish. Fishing that winter kill in like a foot of water.
Oh, interesting. Awesome. So if anybody at home has other questions or comments or, fishing things, then definitely put that into that comment section and we will come back to that. But the other thing that you had mentioned near the beginning of the show was about ice camping. So tell us a little bit about that. Have you gone yet this year, and how's it gone?
Yeah. So I think was last year our first time to ice camp. Like we've done like an overnighter where we just, you're out there till 2 or 3 in the morning or, things like that. But last year is when we first started to actually do it. And so like we got the cot and all that stuff. This year we've gone 2 times already, back-to-back weekends. It's just kind of trial and error still with us. It depends on the type of fishing. A couple weekends ago, we were up in Wisconsin for sturgeon fishing. So then you've got, 20-inch size holes type of thing going on. And so you're losing your space, and we're trying to figure out, we took like our, what are they called? The chairs.
Oh, zero gravity.
The zero gravity chairs. So we took those instead of a cot, thinking we'd have more space and then less things we'd have to take, and it's nice to lay out.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't the most comfortable thing. So then last weekend we went camping. We took a cot instead. Well, we also have a dog, and we take her everywhere we go. So her and I were on the cot, and then Troy ended up laying on the dog cot. So like it's just we're trying to find our balance. I think we're starting to look into a few other options of how to do things so it's convenient, less stuff, but fun and comfortable.
Being comfortable is the main thing. For us, I'm not a small guy. I'm like 6'2", and we'll just say I stay warm. And so like our hub, we got a 450 Eskimo 450 outbreak, which is great for fishing, and like even with the zero gravity chairs was great. But when we put a cot in there, kind of takes up quite a bit of room. And if we're doing the pan fishing, it's not bad. But then her and I, and apparently the dog, have to fit on that cot, and it ends up not real comfortable. So we're looking to upgrade on that. I would say if somebody was gonna, as a couple ice camp, like a 650 Eskimo. What are the otter ones?
I say the otters have some
like about a 6 person, because ours is like a 4 to 5. If you get like that, maybe 6, 8, you start getting, it's almost too big, because then you got to keep it warm, so you almost have to run 2 heaters. So we're just kind of like, Amy's done a lot of research just on YouTube, watching all kinds of stuff. But definitely the floor mats, them snap together floor mats that you can get. Harbor Freight seems to be about the cheapest. It's just like 1/2-inch foam.
Your exercise floor mats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's key, putting those down. Blankets. We have like on the cot, like you can lay the cot down, and even though you have the heater going, it's warm, but that air gets up underneath there. Even if you have a sleeping bag, you almost need like either a sleeping pad or like we have like really old quilts that I don't know, I got handed down through my family, and we'll take that, fold it up, and lay that on there, just kind of like an insulation to keep that air, even though it's warm in there, that cold air comes up from underneath. But yeah, other than that, but I don't know, we cook out there. I mean, we cook some pretty good meals when we're out there. I don't go hungry, we'll put it that way.
Gosh, I love that. One of the first things that you said actually was that, it is a little bit like trial and error, because I think so often people get wrapped up in the Facebook world version of it, of like, it goes perfect and your floor isn't melty and it's like a blue sky outside so you can leave your windows open. And then it's like, when you actually get there and you're experiencing things like you're talking about, how the cold comes up from under your cot. I mean, totally. And actually, a really great tip for that is you take your jacket and put that as your layer, and then like the inside of your jacket is on the inside. Yeah, because I found that blocked the cold out. It just dawned on me. I was like, man, if it works outside, hopefully it works for my cot. And now my jacket is always my layer in there.
Actually, when we slept in our chairs a couple weekends ago, we brought a sleeping bag, of course, and so I took my gear off, and then I laid. The first night I got cold because the air just rose up in my chair. So the second night I took my bibs and laid them out in my chair, and then my coat on the back part, and then I was in my sleeping bag, and it was toasty, perfectly warm.
I did not. I fished a little bit later, stayed up, and I left all my gear on, because I'm like, well, I'm gonna leave all my gear on, I'll be nice and warm. Yeah. And it was complete opposite. She was, but I didn't get my sleeping bag either.
And he left his boots on and sweaty socks. Like I changed my socks.
The last 2 times that's been my thing, is my feet have got cold. I've brought extra socks, but at 1:00 in the morning, I'm so tired. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm like, I don't feel like digging to find the pair of socks, and my feet are like sweaty. I take Crocs. I take the insulated Crocs with me. So I got my ice fishing boots and stuff, and then when we get in the hub, I switch to either slippers or my insulated Crocs. But my feet still sweat because my feet are always really warm, and I'm too stubborn to switch the socks out. And then come about 3:00 in the morning, my feet are freezing, and then I really don't want to try to dig for the socks and whatnot. But so yes, a fresh pair of socks is key also in there. And don't be too stubborn to switch them.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar thing happen. I did switch my socks out, and you know what, my feet still got a little cold. I think it was more my sleeping bag. Going back to the hub, I think in our experience, like we were fishing, or we were camping in a 6-man. And we have a dog also, and she's like 50 pounds, so she's not huge, but she's big enough, and she has her own cot. we got her a heating blanket. It's 24 inches by 20 inches that plugs into a power box.
Okay.
So then she doesn't steal our cots because her
Okay.
bed is heated. So then she stays in her bed. The other thing though is that we did bump up to like the Otter Monster. If we were the Eskimo 850 XD would be another good choice.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing we found that helped a lot in there is that if you put your heater, like if you get one of those wood stove heat induction fans, no batteries, you just set it up on the buddy heater and it blows the hot air when it gets warm.
Mm-hmm.
And you put your buddy heater on a milk crate in the middle of your shack, blowing towards your side, and then leave the other side cold. One, that keeps the floor frozen on your fishing side, and two, then it just keeps your heat on your side basically. And then having a fan above really helps a lot too. So blowing the hot air in and blowing it down really keeps your sleeping area warm, and then it keeps your fishing area frozen so you don't wake up to like 3 inches of water, on the place where you don't have vents.
We do the exact same thing. We got the fan up top, and then
one thing we
fan
noticed
blowing.
though, or at least I was kind of noticing this, we have the buddy heater, but then we also have the flex heater now. And the buddy heater seems to just push straight out.
Mhm.
And so it's nice to have it on the crate because it just kind of coming at you. The flex one, I feel like almost comes up. And since it's like radiant heat, it's not like forceful.
Mhm.
And so when we would do it on the crate, it almost seemed colder. So then we started putting it back down on the ground. And we bought a little mini fan to go on top of it, and it pushes it out for us. But then we also have the fan above. But that almost seemed warmer. I don't know if it was just in my head or what.
But we put
Yeah.
one of them mats underneath it too, so it doesn't
melt.
melt the ice as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we found out something similar because we tried to put our buddy heater on a TV stand that we brought with us,
Yeah.
and that was too high, and the frost line was above our cots.
Uh-huh.
So
You stood up and everything
above
getting
was
changed was really warm, but
Yeah.
the hot was not.
Yeah.
So milk crate it is now. But we also, we've been playing around with a wood stove. That's been really fun. Brings a whole nother, level of like nostalgia and
Winter
camping.
camping. Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's a little, it's a little hokey having it's a mini wood stove, it's only like yay big, but so you have to keep putting wood in it. But during the day or while you're fishing, it's not so bad. And then at nighttime, just throw the buddy heater on or whatever. But no, it's been really fun though. It's cool hearing another perspective of another.
Do you guys know or hear much about those disco beds, the bunk beds?
No, we haven't. We have two of the fold up cots that are like kind of like a camping chair.
Mm-hmm.
So ours fold up and our dogs is like that. And so we, what we're working on is more of trying to arrange our hub in a way that allows for good flow walking in and out of the doors.
Yes.
Because we tried twice now using one side for sleeping and one side for fishing, but having the one door really kind of impedes a lot of your moving around. So we're thinking of maybe setting it up so, one person's here and one person's here, and it's like kitty corner fishing areas, kitty corner sleeping areas.
And then you can walk all the way through.
Right. Then you can walk all the way through just to see how that works.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Our shack right now is not big enough for 2 cots. We have fit 2 cots in it. We actually take our shack with us in the summer if we're doing a tournament and need to camp somewhere. Instead of bringing our huge tent or having to deal with our tiny backpacking tent. So we'll actually bring our shack and just put our cots up, and we're just, in the grass on the ground somewhere.
Yeah, it's great.
So
for like
it'll
spring
fit just
tournaments.
that, but it won't fit anything else. And so we're looking into maybe those disco beds. We've got a friend of ours, they have them, and it looks like it's pretty.
Shout out to Devin and Derek.
Yeah, pretty ideal. The dog could sleep with me on the top bunk, and then Troy can have the bottom bunk. And
are they heavy?
They say that's the other thing. It's not the most compact thing, but then again, if you think about carrying 2 other cots too, then you're kind of losing space no matter what. And then it's not the most ideal thing to put together alone, I hear, but I don't know. We're kind of
there's the pros and the cons where you
Yeah.
can stack them up so you get more room,
Mhm.
and like the heavy thing, we kind of decided like usually if we ice camp, the ice is going to be good enough where we can either drive
It's going to be
we have
12 or more.
either use a four-wheeler or a side-by-side or even drive the truck out there like we go north and stuff. So we kind of decided like it's really not that big a deal to pack it, but yeah, if I was going to have to pull a sled, I probably wouldn't want to pack that. If you're walking out, it'd be kind of heavy. But
Well, and Tony's asking a great question. We've been talking about floor mats. Do they freeze to the ice? So, in your experience, how has your floor mats gone?
no, they don't.
They don't. 2 weekends ago when we were in Wisconsin, it was -17 when we woke up to pack down. Just a couple of them were frozen. I mean, there was that thermofrost stuff all over inside the shack. The outside of the shack was a little frozen to the ground, but it's not horrible. You just very carefully like I'll lift a little bit and then I'll just kind of take my glove and hand and just kind of like chisel, so it doesn't rip a hole in it or rip the edging pieces off or whatever.
So far, we haven't ripped one.
But nothing too horrible.
So to contrast that, because normally I'm like pretty gentle with all of that. No, I ripped that stuff just right off the end. No, it was not frozen that bad in there. No. But we also cleaned up on a day that, like you were saying, it was just ungodly cold. And so I did not have that time to sit and care if my floor mats got ripped. And I just went through and I ripped them up. And the one thing I did stop to notice in that moment was, gosh, do these things hold up well?
Yeah. No, I love them. They're great.
Yeah.
And we just bungee ours up. We have a big bungee cord with our bundle. And I mean, again, it's one of those things. It's an extra thing in your sled. You probably have to have 3 sleds by the time you ice camp, but I don't know. I love it.
I mean,
yeah.
We'll talk about something that'll help keep you and your shack warmer.
Mm-hmm. Well, and safer too, because if you slip it on the ice or anything, like you don't want to be walking around in melted ice or water and whatever. And
yeah, if you're worried about it, just hit it with a little bit of Pam spray, a little cooking spray.
There you go.
I mean, really, if you're going to be out there when it's super cold, I mean, packing a little bit of that. I mean, it's not like you gotta hose it down, but I don't know. We found out that I don't know. It doesn't seem to be an issue.
Nah. Nothing horrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I do like Matt's comment down here. Manufacturers need to consider adding a way of attaching their hubs together. I've started seeing a few online hacks or whatever, some things crawling around the internet. But that is something that would be super, even if we needed to bring 2 shacks out there and then have like a fishing shack and a camping shack. Who knows?
Matt,
Who knows?
Matt, I know there's actually an In-Depth Outdoors where they were fishing on the Fox River into Pier, Wisconsin, and they had to attach shacks together, and it was kind of their little tip. They used the big metal paper clippers, the black ones with the metals on it, and they just clipped them around the door frame. And so you just you bunch them together and then you clip it. And that, because it was so cold. So that spot in De Pere is very popular anyways, but it gets very popular when it's super cold out because you don't hole hop out there. You just set your shack down, pick a depth of water, fish it for a while. If you don't like it, you can move, or you just stay there and wait for the fish to come in and out because it's a river. Mm-hmm. And so that particular episode, they had to keep their camera stuff warm because it was so cold out. And so they ended up having to make a big, long tunnel of shacks. And they just clipped all the doors together, and it worked pretty good. And so, it's something we've been talking about. I just don't know if I want to haul both of our shacks out there. But maybe one of these days.
I bet, I really bet, because we've just, searching YouTube for ideas and stuff on camping. It's getting huge. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like everybody's starting to do it, which is awesome. But I would bet within the next couple of years, there's going to be a company that's going to have, shacks. Like even like just innovative of our Eskimo outbreak, just that big walk through door. Yeah. That's the main reason why we went with them, and then just fell in love with with our hub. Again, I'm a bigger guy, and getting in those little triangles every time I trip.
Oh, I can't.
I trip
either.
every time. I mean, you try to be careful, and then when you got your cleats on, and then you cut it, and
Yeah,
so,
never mind bringing your auger in and out to drill a hole. It's like, what is that?
The thing with ice camping though is it's unless you're I guess just a complete city not an outdoorsy person, it's not that scary or daunting, it just, I don't know, you just have to stop and think what is really needed, and you just do it. I mean, you're already out there, you're already in your shack with half that stuff anyways. Now you're just adding a bed and maybe some more food or something, and so it's really, I don't know, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say, that's something that I totally agree with. It's not that hard, but like you're saying, if you're prepared,
Yes.
you guys had both referenced, how much research you've done, watching YouTube videos. Sometimes people scoff, oh, your research is YouTube. But I mean, I think so many people have documented their experience there, because one of the things about ice camping is there would be nothing worse than having to pack up and try to leave at 2 a.m.
We've done that.
Yeah. And
We've done that.
And you need to make sure that you
out
have
Negative. Yeah, it was
the
same
things.
thing. Yeah, same thing. It was like a negative 15 to 17, and it was about 4:00 in the morning. Our heater went out.
We had a heater malfunction.
Yeah.
Oh,
Something was wrong with the valve or the.
I was running a 20-pound cylinder, and I didn't put the filter on it because we're new to that. Usually I go out. I never run a 20-pound cylinder. I didn't do my research on the YouTube to find out that you should put a filter on them. So since we did that, we haven't had an issue. But yeah, that's what happened. We ran out of propane. I went to switch over, and I couldn't get the pilot to light again. There's a lot of white, like film or whatever, and I don't know. We couldn't. So yeah, we had to.
It's funny how fast you can get packed up.
Yeah.
Ah.
We had the dog wrapped up in a blanket and put her on the four-wheeler. Yeah, we just threw everything together, and it was an adventure. I mean, that's kind of why we enjoyed.
But I'm glad
it
it happened, because
yeah.
we've learned so many different things from all these
You learn
errors.
something. Yeah, you learn something new every time. I mean, we're still fairly new, but we've also, I feel like we're pretty, I don't know, versed in it now. But every time we learn something new.
Well, and that's something that we've actually definitely taken to heart is, your first trip out of the season, or anytime you're trying something new, doing new things for your setup, don't be afraid or really go out of your way to, camp local first. Because like you're saying, like we're saying, God forbid you have to pack up and leave in the middle of the night, at least that you are going back to your house to throw your stuff down and go to your bed. And not you're in a big destination looking for a hotel and they're all booked up, and then you're stuck in your car. I mean, that would be terrible as well.
Yep.
yeah. I mean, that would probably be my biggest tip is just go out to a lake or a backwater or something that's really close to your house, your first trip of the season. Even for us, that kind of know what we're doing, and just test all of your stuff out.
Mhm.
You just pulled it out of your garage. You just need to make sure that you have your inventory of stuff. Your heater is working, all your electronics are working. You got your, I'm a big one for having specific sequence of putting stuff together and taking stuff down. So making sure that is back in your brain.
Yep.
And then if any of that stuff goes wrong, like Emily said, at least you can just go home, or you can run home and grab something and come back and add it to your setup. And then the next time out, plan for your second trip to be a bigger trip somewhere, down the road. So you have less to worry about.
Well, and George is asking, what size hubs are we using? So in this case, we are using our Otter Monster Lodge. That has been fabulous. And can you guys remind us what you're using as well?
We currently have the Eskimo 450
Outbreak,
but would like to upgrade to the 650.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's interested in a hub for sale, they're not exactly cheap.
Yeah.
That's one of our problems, is that we've become shack hoarders. So we have two 1-man Eskimos. We have our clam spearfisher hub. Now we have the monster hub, And now we're like, oh, look at those outbreaks with the big doors in it. Maybe we should add one of those.
Yep.
It's funny how that goes.
Yeah.
But you're preparing yourself for every situation. So.
Right.
Yeah, right. And that day that I can clip them all together, because boy, will that be fun.
Right?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I guess, it's amazing how fast time flies, but while we are still together here, we were talking about the striker gear that we go out and that we wear. And so I am always super curious as to the type of suits that everybody is wearing. So what suits are you guys wearing this winter?
So I am in the new Stella version. Several years ago, I had the older Prism version, and then I last couple years had the men's climate, actually. Just the bibs. I didn't have the coat, and I swear by those. They're great. Open water, frozen, doesn't matter. But then, yep, I just got into the new Stella line. I absolutely love it. I'm a little hesitant on the coat just because I'm never a coat person when I'm ice fishing. But this year we haven't had nice days. So honestly, I've been forced to wear the coat, and I really do like it. It's growing on me a lot. And that's just with any ice fishing coat. That's not just like Striker version. I'm just saying, like, any ice fishing coat, I don't like to wear them. I prefer my hoodie, my vest, and call it good. But this year we've had 30-mile winds every time and negative temperatures. So, but I literally am dying when I'm wearing it. I'm so warm. So half the time when we're like loading out or packing up or anything, I actually take the coat off just because, well, I don't want to sweat and stuff, but I get so warm in it. It does its job. And the bibs, I could sleep in them. I'm so comfortable in them. I love them. And then he has the hard water bibs.
I got the hard water bibs. I don't have a coat yet. I couldn't decide at the time, and then when I got the bibs, I was kind of like right when we were starting to buy all of our major ice fishing stuff. Because before I just go out and like, I don't know, snow pants. I'd wear long johns, sweatpants, and then a pair of snow pants, and then I'd wear I had Bass Pro 100-mile-per-hour bibs, and I'd wear those just to wick the water kneeling and stuff. But finally, my knees started hurting kneeling, and just the fact that, like, if I went, happened to go in, there was a time actually we were on out in Madison, ice catting out there on Mendota, and it was for my birthday in March, so it was right at the end of the season, and we went out of the shallow water bay. It was fine that morning. Well, coming in, it was like 45 degrees all day. Coming in that shallow bay, literally the ice,
riding waves.
Yeah, the ice doing this when we were coming in, and that kind of scared me a little bit, even though it was 3 foot deep, but still it's gonna be cold. But so after that, I decided I needed some bibs. Spend the money on the bibs, so I got the hard waters. Absolutely love them. And then this year I was looking at coats. Actually, I was up there when we met you at St. Paul show.
Yeah,
Trying on the coats, and I still don't know what I'm going to go with. I think it was the Predator, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think it was the Predator. So I was going to team up my hard waters with the Predator coat. Just seemed to fit me the best. But I don't know. Now I'm doing more research and like the Apex. I'm like, I don't know what to go with, and so that'll happen. But then the Striker hoodies, I can't say enough about the hoodies. I'm saying with her, I usually don't wear a coat. I layer up, and I put a nice, I don't know if it's like a thermal vest or you want to call it, but a vest under it, and then I put the hoodie over it. Plus I have like a pair of like Wiki, like Under Armour cold gear, long sleeve shirt, then that vest, and then the hoodie. And normally I can stand out in the cold and just fish, but it's when that wind starts blowing, though, you almost have to have a coat.
yeah.
But the hoodies, I live in them. I got 2 of them now, and if I could pick one thing to wear, they're just so comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I will say, with the women's stuff, I did buy myself some of that Smart Wool long johns this year, or thermals, whatever you call them. And just with those, and then maybe a pair of thin sweatpants. I did that when we went to Wisconsin. It was like negative degrees. But other than that, I can just wear the long johns and be warm in those bibs all day long. So I love them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I agree with that for sure. And Matt is chiming in here. The Striker stocking cap with the foil liner is the warmest thing ever. So for anybody at home that's interested, the anti-freeze hats, those are awesome. And I think check if you're at home before you do it, but they have like a removable pom-pom. It's like a little like snap on it.
Yeah.
So make sure to check your beanie before you just go and rip that pom-pom off. But it is kind of a fun thing because once you know if yours is one of those. The great thing is that when you do need to wear a hood, then you don't have that pom-pom kind of getting in that way. So it was awesome to, be able to talk about all these different accessories and especially your suits and I guess all kinds of fishing tonight. So thanks guys for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for having us.
Yeah. As far as, the people at home, it looks like quite a few people do know you, but for the people who don't, can you tell us how they can continue to follow you throughout the season?
Yeah. So I am on Facebook and Instagram. Amy Hansen. I think actually my Instagram might be my maiden name still. It's Amy Opal Smith. And then Troy's more Facebook, Troy Hansen. He does have an Instagram, but
I'm big into the Facebook. I haven't really gotten the Instagram thing. I keep getting notifications that all these people want to follow, and I honestly don't even know how to log into it. Even though it's on my phone, it says I can log in with Facebook. I do that. I don't remember what my password is, so I need to get that figured out. But we also have, along with just my Facebook page, which is obviously just Troy Hansen. We have John Boat Mafia. It's just kind of our fun little fishing team. We don't post on it a whole lot. But we more of in like the summer and stuff. We'll post on that. I know we sell some apparel on there every once in a while, but yeah, those are probably the best ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys being here talking about catfishing and ice camping and all these awesome things. I'm hoping one of these days we can bump into you on the ice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we need to make that happen.
Awesome. And to the people at home, thank you guys for being here with us as well, because all the questions and comments and things along the way, we love hearing those things, and you guys are part of what makes this show awesome like it is. So to everybody at home, thank you guys for being here, and looking forward to seeing you all on next week's edition of Hook, Line, and Striker.
Night, everybody.
Night.